Welcome to Philadelphia Forum, WNWR's public affairs program. Each week, we take a look at issues, events, personalities, and topics that affect and shape our lives here in the Delaware Valley. Thought-provoking, entertaining, and informative, Philadelphia Forum is here to help find out who and what makes the Philadelphia metropolis the vibrant, diverse area it is. This is Philadelphia Forum.
Okay, we're here at the Philadelphia Forum on WNWR Radio. I'm honored to have two guests, two of the all-time great Philadelphia Eagles with me, and they are Tommy McDonald and Pete Retzlaff. We're going to talk all football today. We want to talk a little to Tommy and to Pete as to what they've been doing since that championship game 41 years ago in 1960 when the Philadelphia Eagles won their last championship, the last NFL championship. And these were two of the really great names in Eagle history that had so much to do with bringing that championship to Philadelphia. So I'd like to welcome both of you guys here. And I'll start off with Tommy McDonald, just introducing him to our listeners. Anybody who lives in Philadelphia knows Tommy McDonald. I'll go through a few of the highlights of his career. Tommy ended the time when he retired in 1968. He was second all-time in the most touchdowns receiving for a career. He was third in the most consecutive games with a reception. He was third in most yards for a career with 8,410 yards. Tommy held a number of Eagle records. He was most touchdowns receiving in a season, most receptions in a season, most yards receiving, longest punt return. I think Vicek.
This is boring.
No, it isn't. And Tommy held several Rams records, several Falcons records. And Tommy, it says here you didn't hold any Cowboys or Browns records, but you did make it to the Hall of Fame, and I congratulate you on that and welcome aboard.
Yes.
Go.
Yes. Yes. Well, there's it made me wait 24 years, but at least if I got there, and this guy number 44, we got to get him in over here.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We want to get number 44 in there because
number 44 is Pete Retzlaff, and he's about to speak.
Let me just say this. Those are interesting statistics that you quoted about Tommy's. But one of the things that wasn't mentioned and probably never is when you start comparing Tommy's marks that he made in pro football to the current receivers. See, they play 16 games today, and we only played 12. Right. Tommy, how many years did you play total?
12.
12? No, multiply that times 4. That's 48. So figure that if he played 48 more games and took his average catch per game or touchdown per game and add that on, you might find those statistics to be significantly higher and compare it very favorably to the Rices and the people that are playing today, setting all the records.
And let's add the 3 years that he was with the Eagles, and he was not actually a full-time receiver, right, Tommy? Took you a while to get that position. Came here as a running back.
Well, I came as a running back, but after the seventh game or something like that in the season, Charlie Gower, thank the good Lord Charlie Gower's around, because Charlie Gower, if it wasn't for him putting me out there at the flanker position, because Bill Stribling got hurt. He was a receiver with us, and they had really nobody to put out there, so they put me out there, and thank the good Lord, Sonny Jurgensen threw me a 61-yard touchdown pass and a 25-yard touchdown pass. From there on,
you had a spot.
I had a spot. They came to me after the game, and I says, "We think we found a spot for you. We're going to have you start playing at the receiver position." I says, "Oh, okay."
well, Charlie Gower saw that in a film, didn't he? In Oklahoma, you caught a couple touchdown passes.
Well, yeah. They at Oklahoma, they had a little special play fixed up to where I would fake in the line and then shoot out, and I caught, I think it was four touchdown passes off that one little play. So Charlie Gower actually flew to Norman at Oklahoma and worked out with Jimmy Harris and myself we had so many halfbacks my rookie year when we got here because you had Kenny Kenny Keller, Skippy Gene Canelli,
Yeah.
and then Billy Ray Barnes, Clarence Peaks, and myself. So we had too many halfbacks, and that's one of the reasons why I got out there as a receiver.
That's right, and a pretty successful career at that, Tommy, I'd say.
Yeah, I wished I could have just played all 12 years with Van Brocklin or Jurgensen, here with the Eagles, because that would have been even better. Because when you get traded like I did, I got traded 5 times. So, you're working with a different quarterback all the time, and you have to take a little time to get used to one another and all that. But when I got traded to the Cowboys, I told him there was no Tom Landry. I went to him the next day, and I said, there's no way I'm staying here, because I want to be more involved in the game. I said, you people run the football here all the time. And, no, we'll get the ball to you. We'll get the ball to you. And I said, no, I want to be more involved in the game. I contributed absolutely nothing to the Cowboys this year. Nothing. I scored 2 touchdowns. And I said, I want out of here. So they did. They traded me to the Rams, and it was a good deal for me because I got hooked up with Roman Gabriel. And Roman Gabriel was there.
Wasn't Jimmy Harris your quarterback at Oklahoma?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And then when he came here,
right,
they tried to make a defensive back out of him.
Yes, and then he was on that Van Brocklin
Which
trade.
is one of the reasons why Oklahoma always ran the ball.
Yeah.
And never threw it.
Yeah, that's right.
I saw Jimmy throw a few passes.
Yeah,
He was not Jurgensen.
they were. We weren't a throwing team at all. We were the option play. We ran out of the split T and stuff like that.
Well, you were only a winning team.
Yeah,
you were a winning team.
I went all through college, and we never lost a game.
know.
53 and 54 and 55 and 56, so we never lost a
I
game.
don't know if that was an all-time record or not, but it's pretty close to it if it isn't.
It's
Of consecutive
I believe
wins.
it is.
Yeah,
that's
it's 47 altogether,
Right.
47 straight wins,
Right.
and it's the record so far.
So you didn't lose
And
in college.
No, I
Right.
never lost. And we were also number one and in 1955 and 1956 in the nation. We should have been in 50, also in 54, but they gave it to Maryland instead of us. But
Tommy, who recruited you out of New Mexico, your home state?
actually, really nobody. They just saw that I had scored 26 touchdowns my senior year, and then I also won 5 gold medals in track. I won the 100-yard dash, the 220-yard dash, the 180 low hurdle, the 440-yard relay, and the 880-yard relay. So Wilkerson was always running speed. But that wasn't the big reason. I think he did give the scholarship to me. I think after I met him, because they flew me to Oklahoma, after meeting him, that's where I knew I wanted to go. And thank the good Lord, that was a great choice, because look what happened. I went all through college, and we never lost a game. And I owe all of the Oklahoma players, the other 10 guys that I played with, an awful lot, because they helped me get drafted, because one person doesn't make himself. A Tommy McDonald doesn't make a Tommy McDonald. A Pete Retzlaff doesn't make a Pete Retzlaff. It's the other 10 guys that are around you.
Right.
So I got drafted by the Eagles, and I got up there, and fortunately I wasn't a halfback. Couldn't make it as a halfback. I had other talents that I could run or catch passes, and the more talent you come into the pros, because it's a separate level from going from college up to the pros, I was able to. But I thought I could make it on defense if I couldn't make it on offense, because I was always really good on defense. I could really sort of smell the ball out. I intercepted 6 passes my senior year.
Including one against Notre Dame for a touchdown.
Ran it
right?
back 55 yards for a touchdown. We beat them 40-0.
40-0. And Paul Hornung won the Heisman Award for a losing team, the only time that ever happened. And you were third in the voting.
Yes. Johnny Majors was second, and I was third, and Jerry Tubbs, my teammate, was fourth. And we took votes away from one another. And would you believe Jimmy Brown was fifth?
Is that right? What position did you play on defense? Free safety?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you only played a half a game also, correct?
They only let us play 2 quarters, because he always considered the second squad as good as the first team. So he would let us start the first quarter, then we went out and he would play the second team the second quarter. Then the halftime came, then we would start the third quarter, and then the second team would play the fourth quarter. So my senior year, I actually only played 2 quarters out of every game. Everybody else, Paul Hornung and John Brody and all of these guys, got to play 4 quarters, where I only got to play 2.
And wound up third in the Heisman anyway.
So I'm very lucky that I even won the Maxwell here in town
Right.
in Philadelphia. And like I say, Jerry Tubbs and I hurt one another by taking votes away from him. I actually had more first place votes than Paul Horning and Johnny Majors, but they beat me out on second and third place votes.
Yeah.
And would you believe that Jimmy Brown, who was fifth, he only got to carry the ball 149 times his senior year at Syracuse.
That's amazing.
I only got to carry the ball 119 times my senior year. And Steve Owens, who won the Heisman Award back in 1969, he carried the ball 351 times. I didn't carry the ball that in 3 years. I didn't carry the ball.
Well, let me jump in here for a minute to properly introduce number 44 over here to bore you with some more details.
Yes,
about
and before
his
you
career.
get on with that, I want to say,
you want to apologize?
I want to say something to Pete. 2 years ago, I found out that they took your number 25 off of you and gave it to me, and I want to apologize for the Eagles, and I want to apologize for myself.
Well, I'll accept that apology.
I can't believe they took that number off.
You can't
of
do that because 44 is hanging up in the vet now. It's retired.
Well,
so I don't think you want
I can tell you this,
lose
Tommy,
that one.
I have an affinity for 44 that I never
you're
had
44.
Well,
45.
I just want you to know I never knew that. I never knew that they made you take that off and give that to me. And I want to apologize for them because that I would have been more than happy to wear 17 because that was my high school number
Oh, is that right?
coming here to the Eagles. But I can't believe they would do that to somebody.
See
like
that now, Pete? You didn't know 45 years later you'd come in the studio and that it would be a love fest like
No,
this,
I
did
didn't
you?
know
Huh?
that. I didn't know that.
But Tommy told me that he was sorry about that.
And I know that my history is not going to parallel that of Tommy's.
No, it
because
isn't.
I went to a Division II school
I know.
and was drafted in the 22nd round.
South Dakota State fullback, right, Pete?
Yeah. In other words, when they draft you in the 22nd round in the National Football League, they don't expect you to be an impact player.
No.
That's all there is to it. I mean, they're just filling out the roster.
And
Matter of fact, most people have gone home by then.
That was the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, that was
drafted
Detroit.
by. Yeah,
Yes,
because so
Detroit.
you played 1 year or 2 years?
No, I just played the preseason.
Right. And he
Oh,
came
just
here.
the preseason.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you wound up being the only tight end ever to win the Maxwell Award.
Is that right?
Yes,
And
you
the
are.
Washington,
How about that?
what's the Washington?
That's the Timmy
The
Award.
Timmy
It's
in
called
Washington, isn't it? In
Touchdown.
1965,
Right.
called the greatest year that a tight end has ever had by many people, including Ray Burry.
Oh, how about that?
and he
That's in my
probably
book.
scored. He probably scored. You had 10 touchdowns that year.
I don't know.
He-
Pete is not the guy to ask.
I
him.
would venture to say that he probably had more touchdowns than Mackey or Mike Ditka. In fact, I wanted to point out in your book, you point that out,
Yes.
that about the tight end position.
You wanna check that,
Jerry
it's right
Smith.
there.
Jerry Smith is in there. Winslow
And
Mackey
Winslow and Mackey
and Ditka.
Right.
And out of all of those guys, Retzlaff has got a lot better stats than
yes, he
those
does.
guys.
Yes, he does.
And
Pete Retzlaff
so
most
if
certainly should
there's
be in the Hall of
anybody
Fame.
out there listening, you can write to the Hall of Fame, and I'm serious, and tell them that Pete Retzlaff deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and the address is 2121 George Hallis Drive, Northwest. It's Canton, Ohio, and it starts off with a great zip code, 44780.
That could be an omen.
You don't want that
That
25
could be
jersey
an
now,
omen.
after all, do you?
No,
I didn't think so. That's,
I'm also broke. I've been paying Tommy every time he comes on and says something like that.
Well, Pete, you led the league in catches in 58. You had 55 catches. You set multiple All-Pro selections. You were the only one that I know of, and if anyone listening knows different, you're the only one that I know that ever made All-Pro, both as a tight end and as a wide receiver.
Right.
Don't know of anyone else that did
Yeah,
that.
well, I would have been very content to stay outside as a wide receiver, but Bobby Walston,
Retired.
he broke his leg.
Well, you guys
remember?
broke your arms the same year, too, didn't
yeah.
you? That was
And,
62.
Yeah, there really wasn't a choice. I mean, I had to go in and play tight end because I didn't think Tommy wanted to.
No, I don't think Tommy's a tight
Can you
end type
imagine
there.
being a three-point stance trying to block?
So,
We'll
but
put
it
you on
turned
the-
out to be pretty
on
good.
Butkus, and then-
It turned out to be pretty good because all of the work that I had to do as a blocking tight end, I got to team up with offensive tackle named J.D. Smith.
Yes.
And J.D. was just a ton of energy. and he carried me. He carried me along with him, and we used to put some of those double team blocks on, and then I would slip off and get the middle linebacker if he was chasing a wide pitch or something like that. And I really enjoyed that. And I got most of the credit for it, but JD did all the work.
Well, JD's down in Texas now.
Yeah.
And he's retired, and I talked to him about that. And JD gives you a lot of credit for that. He
he's
says
just
you
being
carried
nice.
him.
Yeah,
So somebody's being nice.
Well,
but,
let me tell you, I always felt bad for Pete because, see, the linebacker plays right over him when you're a tight end. And a lot of those linebackers really work you over before they'll let you get off the line of scrimmage. So, Pete really had to really work just to even get off the line of scrimmage.
Well, that was standard practice for a strong side linebacker back then. In other words, they were told, don't you ever let that tight end get off or release inside of you.
Right.
Because the outside linebacker is supposed to feed the tight end to the strong safety. That's the way the defense is supposed to work. That's one of the things I think that's changed today. And I as a former tight end, I watched that on when I watched the games. I don't really see those strong side linebackers messing the tight end up as much at all anymore today, like they used to.
Is that right? So that's eased up.
But I mean, you tried to sneak off and get away on the inside, which allowed you to get into the pass pattern quicker rather than going around and fighting the linebacker for a while. I mean, that was devastating because usually under those circumstances, the tight end is the first of the three receivers on the line to come open against any defense, whether it's man-to-man or zone.
Right.
And so that's why it was critical for the linebacker to beat the living, out of the tight end before he would let him off the line.
It's interesting because your old linebacker, Chuck Weber, has a great story about Ditka. It's saying that when Ditka came in the league, he was tearing the league up, and Chuck, as you know, was an NCAA champion wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
The defensive coach at the time told him, I guess it was Williams, told him, don't let Ditka get off the line, do whatever he had to do. So he's throwing every wrestling move that there is, and of course, Ditka doesn't take real kindly to those things, and he's getting madder and madder, and Chuck said, just about the time Ditka was about to explode out of his helmet, when Ditka went back to the huddle, he turned to the ref and said, watch this guy Ditka. He's really hitting me with every cheap shot. So the next play, doesn't Ditka come out and try to deck Chuck, and they get a 15-yard penalty? Ditka is the head coach for the Bears, and San Diego's playing them in a playoff game 15 years later. And he walks out the midfield and outlooks Ditka, and Chuck says, "Hi, Mike. You probably don't remember me." And he says, "I remember you." And he turned around, walked away, said a few other words, but. I guess tight ends don't forget, Pete.
Well, no, they got memories like elephants. Mike is one of the really gracious guys in pro football, if you get to know him. I mean, he'll give you the shirt off of his back, or he'll give you the last penny in his pocket. Now, you'll end up defending him most of the time to the media or to whomever else might be criticizing him. But he's really a genuine guy that can be a top-notch friend.
Has a lot of great things to say about you. Put them in the Retzlaff chapter in the book, that you took the tight end position and grew that position from its initial possession type receiver.
Well, coming from Mike, that's a real compliment.
That is a compliment.
It is, because I really respect what he did, and I know him, and I worked with him in the off season for a couple of years when we were doing some public relations work for Allied Chemical back in those days, and got to know him. And when you get to know Mike Ditka, you can really appreciate him. It's too bad that he's not still coaching New Orleans, to be honest with you, because all of the people that he brought into New Orleans now are playing pretty well.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, very well. Yeah.
And we have another guy over here, I think, who changed his position quite a bit, Tommy McDonald, into a big play type.
Well, I would have
position.
hated. I have to give Pete a lot of credit. To be a tight end, you always have that cotton-picking linebacker that's, after you get by him, the quarterback's got to try and get you the ball in between him is the linebacker.
Right.
So, you really have to get a lot of separation from the linebacker after you get away from him. And so I think to Pete's credit and everything like that, because I know in 65, I know that Pete caught either 10 or 11 touchdowns, and that tells you, not too many tight ends have ever done that, score 10 or 11, 12 touchdowns.
Of course, they messed Pete up in 61. I guess they put Dick Lucas in there, and he caught 5 or 6 touchdown passes because they were double and triple teaming Pete Retzlaff, and he caught 11 passes. I think 5 of them were touchdowns.
8 of them were touchdowns.
So he knows that one time.
He came in, and of course, that would have been my pattern had I been where I was supposed to be. But I've often kidded Dick about that. I said, nobody has a higher percentage of scoring touchdowns and passes caught than you do. 8 touchdowns out of 11 passes caught for the season.
Well, we got a guy sitting here today.
Was 61?
Yeah, it was 61. Yeah, the year after.
Yeah.
But what is yours, Tom? You have a phenomenal rate of touchdown passes.
Well, I'm really proud. Out of the 60 season, I had 39 passes, and 13 of them went for touchdowns. So I'm really proud of that.
That's what you should be.
Because a lot of these guys nowadays are catching 120 passes, and they're scoring 13 touchdowns. So
right. They call them possession receivers nowadays. Huh?
Yeah, that's just a little.
Well, yeah, a lot of those things have changed. You get 16 games to compile your statistics today, and so 90, 95 passes or 100 pass catches are going to lead the league today compared to the 50s and the 60s.
Right.
If Pete and I were thrown to at least 2 or 3 times, we felt like we were lucky. I mean, they didn't throw to us like 7, 8, or 9 times.
Right.
You got either 3 or 4 passes, and that was about it.
Although that 1960 team was very unusual for its time, it was still a running game at that point, and that Eagle team in 1960 averaged fewer yards per carry than any champion in the history of the NFL. Rushing.
Clarence Peak was our biggest runner, and he had 465 yards total.
Right.
That was for the whole year. But of course, he did break his leg after the 7th game and all that. But
with all due respect, one of the reasons that we were behind at halftime in every game except one. We lost to Cleveland to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And then every game after that, we were trailing at halftime until we played the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. And so it was a second half and a lot of faith that most of us had in Van Brocklin as a quarterback that brought us back in the second half to ultimately win that division.
Right.
Absolutely, because the Cleveland Browns started off and they beat us 41 to something, 24 or something.
41-24.
Yeah.
Opening day.
Was it?
Yeah.
And then, then the Cowboys almost beat us also, which was the second game. Right. We only beat them 27 to 25.
And they didn't win that year. And and you won that game on 2 blocked extra points. So that was how the 60 champions team began the season.
Yeah.
Started the season with a big loss to Cleveland, followed by a squeaker at
Cowboys.
Dallas in front of 18,000 people on a Friday night in Dallas.
I don't remember a lot of this stuff. I'm going to have to read your book.
You're going to have to read that book.
Then we won the next 9 in a row.
That's right.
And like you say, we were behind all of them.
At halftime.
And we'd pull them out. We'd absolutely pull them out.
Buck Shaw, who was our coach, he
got older.
He would say this. He would say it every halftime. He said,
"Don't do this to me.
How many times have I told you? 90% of your success is mental." And then he would compare us to a Broadway play, and he would say, "It doesn't make any difference what you think of the first or the second act. The third act, the audience will leave you thinking of how the play was."
Uh-huh.
And of course, that's the way it was. The second half.
I should have called the title of that book "The Third Act"
or the second half.
The second half, whatever. Yeah. No, that was an exciting season. An amazing season.
Well, I just think we had the personalities of the individuals help make up for what little talent we did. Because actually, Cleveland and New York had better talent than we did. But I think when you put personalities of a Pete Retzlaff, a Don Burrows, a Tom Brookshire, a Maxie Bond, Chuck Weber, a Van Brocklin, those personalities really help you win. They really do.
Yeah, you that team won on the intangibles. You were next to last in defense. I already mentioned the rushing problems that the team had, but you had a great self-belief and camaraderie.
It was a typical never quit team.
Yeah,
it was a typical never quit team.
Now, Tommy, unusual.
Yes, and Tommy suggests that we, New York and Cleveland had better personnel, and maybe on paper they did, but you don't play the game on paper. You play it on the field, number one. The other thing is, if Philadelphia's football team in 1960 had traded places with the New York Giants, we had played in the media capital of the world, you probably would have had a greater reputations than we would So here we are sandwiched between Washington, D.C. and New York, and nobody thinks that anything ever happens in Philadelphia that's worthwhile.
Right.
Well,
I think number 60 would pick that theme up.
Yeah,
real
exactly.
heartily, Pete. Right now.
I agree.
We'll pick that up on the next segment here. At the 1960s, some of the personnel, some of the guys, and some of the things that really fueled that team, what the differences are, and what you see the prospects are for the current team. What you see, any similarities in that team to the 1960 team where you guys brought home that championship 41 years ago. It's a long time.
Pete's got the ring on right there.
Yeah, I'm watching that ring.
It looks like a class ring, but the Super Bowl wasn't in 1960. They didn't start that until 66. But I wish they would have put at least the shape of a football or something on there. But it
I
just
think that
looks
would have
like
been Pete's salary for 1960 to buy one of the current rings.
I couldn't have bought.
You couldn't have bought a current ring with your salary then, right?
Absolutely not. But the Super Bowl rings today, are almost garish because of the size of them.
Right.
And the amount of stones and diamonds. And
have you seen the one of Dick Vermeil's?
Yeah, and that's a good example.
It's like a headlight.
It is.
It's got diamonds. It's as wide as a 50-cent piece and has diamonds, and then it has spelled out Rams, R-A-M-S, Rams, and you have to actually turn away because it hurts your eyes.
Well, it's really a ring that you would put in a case someplace, not wear.
Well, I'm gonna. We're out of time for the moment, but we'll pick this up with the next segment of Philadelphia Forum. I want to thank Pete. I want to thank Tom for joining us. It's really great to have you guys into Philadelphia Legends, and you can read about all this in the book, the 1960 Philadelphia Eagles, the team that they said had nothing but a championship. And I'm Bob Gordon, the one who wrote it. Thanks an awful lot, and we'll see you next time.
Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. Fly, Eagles, fly, score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, hit 'em high, and watch our Eagles fly. Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
Thank you for listening to Philadelphia Forum. If you have a topic of interest to the Philadelphia region that you'd like to see featured on the show, give us a call at 610-664-6780. Or you can write to us at Philadelphia Forum, WNWR, 200 Monument Road, Suite 6, Ballackinwood, Pennsylvania, 19004. Join us again next week for another thought-provoking edition of Philadelphia Forum.